Our testers didn't know what to expect from the Fezzari Sal Peak. This 29er was up against some stiff competitions from brands like Evil, Ibis, Da Vinci, and Yeti, but Utah-based Fezzari would not go down without a fight in the desert of the southwest corner of its home state.
Did you expect to like this bike, Mike?
I had no preconceived notions. However, I was somewhat skeptical before riding this bike. I made some jokes at this bike's expense, I'll admit that.
I seem to recall a certain amount of shit talking at the trailhead.
Did you expect to like this bike?
Not especially, but I did. I gotta say, I did.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, this bike's rad.
Yeah.
So let's try to delve into the goodness of the bike, or do we delve into Fezzari first?
Well, what is Fezzari? It's a mail-order bike company. Started in 2006?
Not an Italian soda.
No, or a pizzeria.
Got it.
So they make bikes.
They make bikes.
One of which has a really steep seat tube angle. This one right here, that was the first thing I noticed. It's a 78-degree seat tube angle. It's the steepest I've ever ridden, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think one of the steepest on the market.
Yeah, pretty close to it.
And I mean, you get on this thing and you're like right over the bottom bracket. It almost is like has like a hybrid feel to it, like when you get on just a city bike.
Yeah.
Kind of. You're sitting like kind of upright on it. I remember the first few pedal strokes, I was like, whoa, this thing feels kind of like pedestrian, you know? But as soon as I got going and started, like the top of our loop has kind of a little bit of a descent at the beginning. And I was like, oh yeah, this thing performs.
It's not a pedestrian.
The seat angle difference alone made this bike ride much differently than the other bikes that we had here in the test.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really in a comfortable climb position. You're sort of like, it's weirdly over the front, but also upright, which is not a sensation that you get on really any other bike.
But like, I didn't feel like I really needed to get used to it or anything, you know? Like when I was on the Yeti SB 130, that bike is long enough that I had to be I had to learn how to be over the front of it. This bike, I didn't really need to like alter my riding.
But the
And I
overall
think that's because
length,
you're already sat up on it.
but the overall length between the wheels, the SB 130 and this are almost the same, size large. For me, it felt, aside from, you know, you have this really good pedaling position and a super good suspension for riding up and over chunky ground, which has this really nice level of support to it, that it felt like I was a little more on top of the bike than in.
You could climb all day on the Sal Peak, especially with its 2 bottle cage mounts inside the front triangle. But don't let that trick you into thinking Fezzari prioritized climbing over descending.
I thought the rear suspension it felt a lot more sophisticated than I kind of thought it would. I mean, it's a relatively new brand. It's a relatively small brand, you know, so you wouldn't think that they have those kind of resources, you know, but they kind of nailed it. Like the suspension felt awesome all the way through. There was never a point in the travel where it felt like soft or mushy or vague.
Yeah.
It always kind of had your back. On small hits, it was supple. Big hits, it didn't want to bottom, but it didn't progress too much.
Yeah, and you could feel that you were close to the bottom. It had like almost a platform that you sort of got into that just sort of caught you and then sent you forth back into the world.
So to speak.
I'll just go ahead and call it my favorite so far.
Dang.
No way!
Yeah.
And
You were riding like an evil.
So yesterday
Offering.
I rode an offering and I rode the SB 150. And the SB 150, like, it was more bike than I wanted. Like at the speeds that thing wanted to go, I was scared for my life. And on the offering, I was like, I just wish this thing was giving me a little more help in the really chunky stuff, the chunky fast stuff. And this bike was the third bike that I got on, and it was like the perfect.
It's like happy medium.
It was the happy medium. Yeah.
in that chunky, climby, lollipoppy bit yesterday, we used a lot of pedaling, a lot of ledgy ups, and also a lot of sort of like drop and then up transition changes. I've been struggling to keep up with people all along, and on this I was not having that at all. I was actually faster on this than on any of the other bikes in that particular section of trail. I still felt like it after coming off of something like the SB150, it didn't feel quite as stable on the really fast downhills. But I think, again, that was me not quite figuring out the position where I needed to be. Still basing things off of seated rather than standing.
Yeah, I don't think this thing is anywhere near as stable as SB150.
Not much is though, right?
Yeah, not much is, but I actually, in a lot of ways, felt more comfortable on this, like in the really techie, steep, like high consequence
Yes.
stuff, because it's more
Yes.
precise feeling.
Yes, and it really does. Like, you can put the wheels exactly where you need them, especially in slow technical going.
Yeah.
And it's a fun bike to actually pedal, you know? Like, it's more pedal efficient than I expected. It was really good. Like, it was a bike that was like begging me to go faster, and I was already tired and it was hot out, and I was like, I wasn't really feeling inspired to go fast until I started pedaling on it, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I think that was really impressive.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of the Ibis Ritmo in that regard.
Yeah.
They're really similar bikes in terms of like all their numbers, basically. I think the Ritmo, that bike just like gives you so much energy, like from every pedal stroke. It almost feels like it has an assist somewhere in there. Yeah. And this doesn't quite give you that much.
Yeah, it's not to that level.
But it's still a really nice pedaling platform, and I think this is a little more confident than the Ritmo on the descents.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I can agree with you on that, but I had zero problems with this bike. It was very
So
impressed.
we're kind of unanimous in our praise of this thing. You're saying it's your favorite bike of the test.
So far.
At a staggering price point.
Yeah.
Through the roof on this, right? No. $45.99
Yeah.
as spec, like full GX, which most of the bikes that we're testing with this spec are around about $1,000 more than this as it sits. Full
Yeah.
carbon frame with this componentry.
With a lyric.
Yeah, with the lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an impressive build, and it's impressive value.
So you're gonna try and take this thing home then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I think we put a little, like, maybe scratch in the top tube, so I don't think they're gonna want it anymore.
Yeah,
so
they're probably done with it.
probably.
Fezzari better get to work on its acceptance speeches, because we've got it down for awards in at least 2 categories: Best Bible Newcomer and Best Value. Even if judged on performance alone, though, the Sal Peak can hang with the best of the uber-competitive mid to long travel category. Find more from the 2019 Bible of Bike tests on bikemag.com.